Hey everyone, it's Maria here, Coach Maria, and I'm going to be doing a tutorial for you on how to do color pop, pet color pop. And today I am showing you on a 5x7 canvas because this is part of my artsy pop-up kit that I just talked about in the other video. And if you watch this and don't watch the artsy pop-up video, just know that an artsy pop-up is something that you do when you go into commercial spaces, maybe an apartment complex, or somebody invites you in, or a business invites you in for like a business activity where you're doing some art. Think of art stations when you were maybe in grade school. And so that's what kind of an artsy pop-up is. And so I love working with adults. And this is by far one of the most favorite projects that I have done. It's great. People just love their pets here, of course. So I'm going to walk you through this step-by-step tutorial. If you want to follow along, feel free. Now you can follow the same technique with any size canvas. The reason I do 5x7 or sometimes I do 5x5s is because of the time. Like it can definitely take quite a bit of time. So also along with this video, actually, I don't think I have the pictures up on my computer, but in the blog post where you find this video, I will put some extra pictures of the fun things that my customers have done with this. But I do, and I will include a handout. That way you can reference back to it, and I will be referencing it also on our video today because there's some tips that I always show my customers. So when you do an artsy pop-up, I always recommend you have other samples printed out so that they can see that. Obviously, hopefully you can make your own version so that you can have one in live in person for them. But if you don't, then maybe you can have some samples. I always find having the samples is really helpful for other people to get ideas. And then I'm going to show you some tips that you absolutely want to have when it comes to making your color pop pet. Now, what if you don't have a pet, right? Well, this is my honey bunny. And so she's actually not alive any longer. Sad face. So I still have this old picture of her and I wanted to make her. Now, if you've never had a pet, don't have a pet or anything like that, or have one that you can take a picture of, you can download any picture of any animal and do a color pop with elephant, do a color pop of a giraffe, a polar bear, anything like that. And because you can really color pop anything. I've actually done this workshop by doing color pop with flowers and cactus, which is really fun. Maybe I'll put some of those pictures here in the blog as well for you. Color pop is kind of an Andy Warhol technique. It was, if you think of those Marilyn Monroe kind of pictures that are famous, Andy Warhol kind of made this color pop technique. It's not the same technique as that Marilyn Monroe painting, but it's where you take a picture of someone or anyone. In fact, this Frida Kahlo picture up here is kind of that same idea of taking an image of someone's face. And I can pull it down for you as well. So it's where you take an outline of someone and then you're just popping it with color. And so if you can see, I made honey Frida flowered out as well. All right, let's put Frida back. And of course, if you're looking for the Frida Kahlo tutorial, it's around here in our blog somewhere too, and you can do that as well. So let's get started. If you are watching my artsy pop-up tutorial, you know that I have all my stuff in this sweet little, cute little basket, just like this. I just have blank canvas right in here. I also have a lot of pencils, and then I have some Sharpies because Sharpies come in handy for small details. And then I also have graphite paper in here as well. And so you're going to need the graphite paper. Oops, let's tip that over. So if you do this as a pop-up and people don't know you're coming, they're not going to know to have a picture of their pet there. So that's why you can have other images of other animals and things like that if you're still wanting to do color pop. But if you give your company advance notice that you're coming out and you're doing color pop, then all of their employees can get their pictures ready. And I highly recommend that they print them black and white, and you're going to see why in a second. And if they can scale it, like if they copy and paste it into Microsoft Word, then they can just easily print it. They can size it in there for 5x7 or whatever. So I want you to look at my side camera here because you can see I trimmed Honey down. Mostly I just want her body in here. We never put any background or anything like that. So as you can see, she's not going to fill up the whole 5x7, which means if I also wanted to paint her maybe on a 5x5, she would still fit as well. So, usually people will bring different types of pictures of their pets. That can always be difficult. We really want a full image of their face. So you can see this one. This one here, I'll hold it up closer for you. She had a picture with her coffee cup, and then she ended up tracing and painting that as well. And then this one was cute, had a baseball in his mouth. But you kind of want a headshot of the pet. That's how it's going to look the best. So I'm going to spotlight my camera here so that you can, let's see. Let's see if I can spotlight this. I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so I have my my graphite paper, and what you'll do is you put that down first on your graphite paper, on your canvas, and then you'll just trace right along. Now, I don't do anything fancy. I don't bring tape. I don't do anything like that. It just is what it is, okay? So you're gonna see after I take the graphite paper off how wonky it looks, and your customers will be like, this is never going to work, but I promise it does. So the whole trick to tracing your pet is that you always are looking for where the shadows are and where the shadow breaks are. So on Honey's body here, she does have a nice shadowed break here. And then she kind of has these other spots. Technically, she has these other spots. I didn't do this in the other picture, but I can do it here if I want to, right? So these shadows that I'm creating are here. And then her ear is also a segment in itself. So I can just paint that. Now, Honey had these little bows in her ears. I'm not going to trace those. I'm going to freehand something else on there. But if because some of your customers will have things or balls or anything else in their pet's face. So it's up to them if they want to trace it. They can also freehand things. So I've seen things like when ears are flopped over or something like that, and they might have to freehand that shape. So then the nose is important. And Honey always had this little sad face. So sad line, so a frown line, I trace that. And then of course we trace their eyeballs, and we'll freehand some other things in there. And then I'm going to trace these spots around her eyes. I might have already traced them once. I'm going to trace them again so I don't mess them up. So the idea here is that you're looking for segments. You're looking to create space, different areas, because the more spaces there are, so let me show you the original here, or not the original, but my painting here. The more spots there are like these, the more you're going to paint them in. And you don't want a ton, because how much time do you have to paint, right? So you don't want a ton. So I can lift up my graphite now, and I can put the graphite away, but I'll keep my picture here. Now look how this looks terrifying. I mean, it's terrible, right? It doesn't really look like anything, but I promise it will really come alive. So I just realized I did not grab brushes or a paper towel. So give me one quick second. Sorry about that. Was not very prepared, I guess, for this tutorial. I do have the paint. I don't know why I didn't grab this. Anyhow, it's better than hitting record all over again. So after your customer traces this, there's a few key important things that you need them to know. The first thing is you want them to pick 3 to 5 colors for their painting. And I personally, I love having, of course, my big pint size and quart size paints, but I also like having these little bottles because first of all, they're brighter colors, they're vibrant. You're going to keep from having to mix colors. So you're able to buy, especially for those of you doing this as a summer art bar, you're able to find some of these bright colors, maybe even neons, because it is color pet pop. So these are the colors I selected, but you're also needing to have black. So that is my number one tip about color pop, is it always looks so much better if their eyes and their snout are black. It is the one thing that really makes or breaks your painting. I have seen other people try to do other colors and it just doesn't work, like blue eyes or green eyes and a, you know, whatever snout. The black just really makes it pop. So you'll notice in this particular painting, I did Honey's eyes and then I added black as an accentuating color as well. And same with here, no matter what, I keep her eyes, snout, and mouth all black. So that's really the only tip. The other tip I have is keep away from doing a ton of colors. So if you're going to pick a couple of color palettes, you're going to want to repeat the paint in different segments. So you'll see as I paint along here as well. So as some of you know, I don't like using paper plates usually, but since I didn't prepare my palette ahead of time, we have this going on. So of course, paint is, I just used these paints a couple days ago. I don't know why they're already. So I picked this other pink, this little mauve color. Now, always have them start to think about what color they might want for their background. Usually something really bright and vibrant is pretty. And your customer's always like, where should I start? What should I start with first? And so sometimes I say, you know what, just start with one of the smaller sections or something to get started. And so, so as you can see, I kind of gave Honey a couple, I think I'm going to do my background in the bright pink. So then I'm going to use these more mauve colors, maybe down here for her body. So, and that you can outline it. And so you might have to freehand some spots as well. You might have to freehand, like if the drawing didn't come all the way down or anything like that. So like it didn't come all the way back down here. So I'll freehand it. I'll either get my pencil and actually paint it. Now, remember, I have been painting this painting for like 4 days now. I've painted like 3 or 4 honey bunnies. And so I pretty much know the shape of her body right here by now. So again, I'm going to do this a little bit. What I like about it is you can make up stuff. It doesn't matter. It does not have to be perfect. The graphite will show up kind of like an outline. And you notice on my original painting of Honey also, she doesn't have a collar on. And so I freehanded a collar on one of her paintings. So she actually did used to wear a collar, but just not particularly this day. I had actually just picked her up from the groomer on this day for this painting. And so I just remember that day. So anyway, here I'm gonna give her like this little cow spot here, this kind of cow. So of course, if you're watching me paint, it's like watching paint dry. Hopefully maybe you're painting along with me, but I want you to be able to see how it kind of comes together, because your customers can get a little fussy. They're like, oh, this looks terrible, right? But it really starts to come together. Now also know I'm painting kind of fast, of course. And so what I would do is you'll want to make sure you give your customers, especially if you're painting on a small canvas, smaller size brushes, because they're going to have to get into these nooks and crannies, right? So I'm going to paint my background this bright pink. So I know that, and I'm going to go ahead and paint Honey's ear then, this nice bright yellow. And I want to encourage you and your customers to paint a lot slower than I'm painting. I'm just painting it kind of quickly here. So if you get any other paint on there, you want to mark it off. So you can see with my yellow, I don't know if you can see it very well where you are, but sometimes that graphite starts to show through. So you can either accept it, you can paint a second coat. It's very difficult to try to, you can't really erase graphite. So I kind of embrace it as an outline. Okay, so I have yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the yellow down here in this little spot. So on Honey's original picture, her, this kind of was a shadowed dark area here. So sometimes you're going to get dogs that have their legs exposed. You know, they have different angles of their legs or shadows, and you're going to have to kind of work with it ahead of time. That's why you really want like more of the face, but I have seen lots of people do them with their whole body. their legs. So I'm going to grab some black paint real quick. And I always also, big tip number 3. So big tip number 1 was you paint the eyes and snout with black. Big tip 2 was you pick 3 to 5 colors for your color swatch, right? Don't pick like 10 colors. And then you want them to be bright. And then big tip 3 is possibly keep an area of your painting white. So a lot of times dogs have a T-zone or their snout area. And so don't be afraid. You can see in both of my samples for Honey, I actually left them white, her snout white. And so that's going to also help your color pop is if you leave a section of her, of your pet white. So I'll probably leave that same section. Now I will still probably paint it in white, or maybe because I have this little light pink color here. Actually, you can't see my palette. I have this really light color pink. So I might actually paint her face that color. I'm going to paint her eyes, her eye sections, this light pink color. So sometimes you're going in on the fly. Now, I had a customer last week who did this, who was super skittish. You can kind of tell your customers' personalities a little bit because they struggle with doing the color pop. Like he wanted to just paint his dog like his natural colors of browns and blacks. And you can't stop them. You can let them do that. The trouble of trying to paint something realistic is that it's not going to look realistic. So that can be sometimes a big problem. And sometimes you'll have to pull in another color because you figure out you have like too many sections and they might be touching or something like that. So I'm going to actually make another version of the teal right here. I'm going to make a lighter color version of it just so that I can, I don't want to have too much of the dark teal up here. So you'll get better to learning color combinations. Like, this would be a great time to pull out your color swatching. If you've ever done color swatching before, finding what colors go well together. Some of my favorite colors are like navy and pink. And, you can definitely learn about color swatching a little bit more. We've done tutorials on that so that you can find other colors that really go well together. So I'm almost done filling this in. Now, even though I'm going to leave these 2 areas of her white, I'm going to paint them in white. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to paint in her eyes and her snout, because you'll see how she just really comes alive when you paint in those eyeballs and paint in that smile, or in Honey's case, her frown. Now, some dogs have very clearly defined nostrils. And so when you have really clearly defined nostrils, it's fun. You can outline them, paint them in a bright color. You can paint them in or leave them white as well. So as you can see, you can just see the painting right before your eyes just transform into it just comes alive once you get their eyes in there, right? And you see me wipe. I keep, maybe you don't see me doing it, but I kind of wipe in between every time, even though the paint, just because if the paint has touched any part of the other like light color, it'll turn gray. So whenever I'm painting black, I kind of do that clean in between just so that it stays nice and dark and black. So there's Honey's outline. Right now, I haven't decided if I'm going to paint this top portion yet. I think I'm going to leave that white. And then now I'm going to go ahead and paint the background. So again, when I'm giving my customers brushes, especially when we're painting something Small like this, you need to make sure you have a lot of those fine liner kind of pen or brushes, I should say, in there. And you can absolutely do this on any size. I'm painting really fast, guys, but your customers, especially, they're not as comfortable with paint like how I'm doing it. I'm doing it really messy. Your customers are going to, be a lot slower. I did this art pop-up at a company and they were all painting on actually, I had two of them painting on 8x10s and they did take longer. But I had one lady painting on 5x7 and she took like an hour and a half. I mean, it was like a regular paint party, but they were talking and having a good time and looking at each other's projects and paint. So it was like a full-on party. If I do a pop-up, a true pop-up where customers are not sitting down, this is a perfect size, but they'll get tired of standing. So they'll paint a little bit quicker. So it just depends on the kind of pop-up you're having. You want to give them fair warning, right? Because different painting personality styles are going to paint in different ways. You also look, so if I leave a spot white, like I left her forehead white, I easily could have came in and painted that by accident, right? So you need to go slow, especially around the face. I have a lot of customers who go into the wrong segment because they didn't realize what they were, the area of their face. So now you can see that's Honey's backdrop. Now, if I wasn't in such a hurry, if I wasn't like just doing a tutorial, I would come through probably with a second coat of paint on this background. And then while I let her dry, you can see some people really do have backgrounds in their paintings, but I made one up for this one. Obviously, I just painted it orange. Later, I came back and made some dots. I put on a necklace on her, or not a necklace, a collar. And then on this one, obviously, I made a little Frida Kahlo. So you can do whatever you'd like. Now, I am going to leave her face white, but like I said before, I always paint it in white. And then I want the black to dry because I need to add the light of life into her eyes. So this is what I call the light of life. And so it's where they have a dot. Now, if I look at Honey's original painting picture, and hold it up for you, she has her natural light of life. The natural light of life is like how the light reflects into her face. So there, she had one there and she had one there. So I can kind of repeat it. Now I made some up. I put nice big dots and then I put these tiny little 2 dots here. So it kind of makes it a little kind of kawaii style-ish as well. So let me grab some white paint. And then I will paint in the white. And then I'm going to just show you on my screen kind of the samples that I have from the ones that I have printed out. So in this blog, I will put a PDF, and in that PDF, you're going to see sample ones that are that were done. That way, I like to show my customers because I like for them to be able to see the different versions. And then let's just talk about sometimes, so you need the right brush here because it's not the right brush. So sometimes you're going to have to freehand some things because the copy of the painting, the copy of the picture is not good. Sometimes you have to freehand, like Honey, you can only see one of her ears. If I wanted to freehand in her bows, I could freehand them in. Just think of different things that you can. I just went over her mouth, as you can see. So now I have to clean that up. I like white though, because white serves as like an eraser. So if I keep messing that up, we're gonna have to clean that up. I might have to let it dry for a minute because it'll keep turning kind of gray. So I'll come up here and work on that. It's hard to clean up paint messes unless you let it dry. So it's hard to be patient through that too. So there's Honey. I'm going to let her dry for a little bit longer. And as you can see, that was really fast painting. It's 5x7. I painted it very fast because I've done it a million times. And I know the different parts of her body there, but your customer's definitely not going to paint that fast. So I want to share my screen with you though. I want to just show you these pictures up ahead here. Let's see. All right, so here we have this will be in your handout here on the blog. And I just want to share with you up close kind of the samples that I have. So as you can see, you know, picking the 2 or 3 different colors. I love the snout here, how she added some shadowing here, and then she added the whiskers too. But sometimes you have to freehand things. So obviously you can't see the whole picture here, but sometimes with their ear, one ear is down, one ear is up, so on and so forth. On the bottom right here, you can see those fun nostrils of this guy. And so you can see how the artist, you know, really magnified them out with the white. And then on this picture on the right-hand side, on the top right, how she painted and everything. Now, she didn't leave any white spots on him, on this dog, but the cup has some nice contrast as well. So those are just some fun samples for you to be able to see up close how they did this, how they left this. And then don't be afraid, like even though this one has yellow, bright yellow, you can also leave some spots white too. And then you can see the 3 cute little dots, how they put the light of life in this dog. So super fun, different ways to do that. All right, so that's your ColourPop tutorial. And if you have any more questions, you can just let me know. And then in this blog, I will put some more samples. I will also put that PDF that you can copy and print for your customers to be able to see. So I hope you enjoy it. Have a good time.